Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's indeed a honor and privilege to be with you here today in Atlanta. My fellow Americans, we stand on this hallowed ground, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park, surrounded by the echoes of a life that changed the soul of our nation. Here in the modest birthplace on Auburn Avenue, a boy named Martin learned to read the Bible and dream beyond the chains of Jim Crow. Here at Ebenezer Baptist Church, he preached the gospel of love and justice. And here in the quiet of the Rose Garden, he and Coretta lie together. Their legacy, a living flame that still lights the path forward. We come not only to honor Dr. King, but to confront the unfinished business he left us. The full realization of civil rights, the unbreakable protection of voting rights, and the achievement of genuine economic justice so that no one is left behind in the land of plenty. Dr. King once asked in his prophetic address, where do we go from here? Delivered right here in Atlanta at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1967. Where do we go from here? He answered with unflinching clarity. We must massively assert our dignity and worth. We must stand up amid a system that still oppresses us. We must develop an overriding loyalty to mankind as a whole. That question rings as urgently today as it did then. We've traveled far since the Montgomery bus boycott, the Freedom Rides, the March on Washington, Selma, and the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Blood was shed, lives were lost, and laws were changed because ordinary people, young and old, black and white, believers and skeptics, refused to accept the status quo. Yet, the mountains remained. Dr. King identified three interlocking evils: racism, excessive materialism, and militarism. Today, we see their shadows in persistent discrimination and a racial wealth gap that refuses to close, and in debates over how we value every human life. On civil rights progress, it's real but fragile. Black Americans and other communities of color still face unequal treatment in housing, education, healthcare, and the criminal justice system. Discriminatory policing and sentencing uh, disparities continue to erode trust. We've seen courageous reforms in some cities and states, body cameras, and accountability measures. But we know too well that one viral video can reveal how far we still have to go. Dr. King reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We cannot rest until justice is not a slogan, but a lived reality for every child in every neighborhood. Nowhere, nowhere is this more evident than in the voting rights, the very foundation of self government. Dr. King declared, "Give us the ballot, and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights." He understood that the ballot is power, dignity, and voice. In the years since the Supreme Court's Shelby County decision, weakened by protections of the Voting Rights Act, we have witnessed a wave of restrictive measures: shorter early voting periods, stricter ID requirements, limits on mail ballots, purges of voter rolls, and gerrymandered districts that dilute minority voting strength. As we approach the 2026 midterms, legal battles rage in states across the country, from challenges to redistricting maps in Louisiana and even my home state of Texas, to disputes over mail ballot deadlines and executive attempts to impose new federal rules on elections. Courts are weighing whether remaining sections of the Voting Rights Act still guard against racial discrimination in voting. Some states have expanded access through automatic registration or same day registration. Others have moved in the opposite direction. This is not abstract. When eligible voters face unnecessary hurdles, may I say, long lines in one precinct but not another, closed polling places in historically black neighborhoods, or rules that disproportionately affect working families, students, seniors, and people with disabilities, democracy itself is diminished. Dr. King marched so that no American could be turned away from the ballot box because of the color of their skin. We must honor that sacrifice by passing federal legislation to restore and strengthen the Voting Rights Act, ensuring fair redistricting, protect mail voting, and make Election Day a national holiday so every citizen can take part without fear or hardship. Economic justice is the third pillar and perhaps the most stubborn. Dr. King warned that the political rights without economics rights are hollow. And where do we go from here? He challenged us directly. There are 40 million poor people here, and one day we must ask the question, where are the 40 million poor people in America? When you begin to ask that question, you're raising a question about the economic system, about a broader distribution of wealth. He called for restructuring an edifice that produces beggars rather than mercy, helping the beggars it produces. Today, the question is more pressing. The racial wealth gap endures. Starkly recent data show that the median white household holds roughly 9 to 10 times the wealth of a median black household and 5 times that of a median Hispanic household. White households' wealth has grown significantly faster over recent decades, compounding advantages built over generations, while systemic barriers, redining, and discriminatory lending, unequal access to capital, and wage gaps have limited wealth building for communities of color. Black unemployment remains higher. Home ownership remains low, and access to quality education and jobs uneven. Dr. King envisioned an America where 3 meals a day for their bodies, and education for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits were guaranteed to all. In his final speech, I've been to the mountaintop, supporting striking sanitation workers in Memphis. He spoke of economic dignity, workers demanding fair wages, safe conditions, and respect. He told them and us that difficult days lay ahead. But I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people, we will get to the promised land. My administration is committed to bending that arc further. We will push for legislation and executive action to strengthen voting protections and modernize our elections so every eligible vote is counted. Invest in underserved communities through targeting job training, small business support for minority entrepreneurs, affordable housing initiatives, and reforms to close the racial wealth gap. Expanded access to education, healthcare, and childcare so families can build futures, not just survive. Promote fair wages, union rights, and policies that ensure workers like those Memphis sanitation strikers share in the nation's prosperity. But government alone cannot finish this work. Dr. King taught us that true change comes when love confronts power, when ordinary people rise in solidarity. It requires the courage of the foot soldiers in Selma, the persistence of the boycott organizers in Montgomery, the moral clarity of those who sat at lunch counters and rode freedom buses. Here at Ebenezer, where Dr. King preached, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice. Let us commit ourselves. Let us reject complacency. Let us love fiercely and act boldly and march onward, not in hatred, but in hope, not in division, but in unity. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice because we bend together with faith, with perseverance, persistence, and with love. We bend to the mountaintop. We've seen the promised land, and by God's grace and our collective will, we will get there, all of us together. Thank you very much. May God bless you. May God protect our troops, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.